Hey, everybody. Remember, if you're a fan of the Tennessee Volunteers or just sports in general, please like, comment, and subscribe. Any and all support's greatly appreciated. Now, let's get to the video. How's it going, everybody? Hope everybody's had a really great weekend. A lot of great football this weekend. This isn't really about the NFL, but we saw literally every single game that's been on this weekend has been intense. It came down to the wire. Wish we could say the same on some college football playoff games, but hey, the NFL is providing where college may not be providing at the moment, so that's always fun to see. But time to get into the video for today. What I wanted to go over is Tennessee finally has woke up within the portal. Over the course of the portal opened on the 2nd. We're now 9, almost 10 days into it. A lot of Tennessee fans were growing incredibly frustrated with Josh Heupel, with the administration, including myself. I'll be the first person to say that about inactivity in the portal. You're seeing teams like Texas Tech with their oil money go out and signing all of these big name recruits. You're seeing Alabama, you're seeing Ohio State, you're seeing Penn State, you're seeing these big logos going out, getting players, transferring them in, and climbing those on-3 transfer portal rankings. And we're just sitting there kind of hoping and praying something finally started to budge. And we kept receiving, clues from people in the media and, people on VolQuest saying it's coming. You have to be patient. Well, of all fan bases to say, hey, be patient, this is probably the wrong one. But as of Saturday, an interesting trend outed itself. And now what I don't want to do is take away from our prior commits, right? We had his name was Ori Williams from LSU, and I think our first official commit during the cycle was Quay Moss from Kansas State, a safety, if I'm not mistaken, or a DB, someone we need in the secondary because we all know how terrible that secondary was. But one recurring theme we've heard throughout the last month or so is with Jim Knowles' new defense, right? It's going to take 2 years to implement. So you just need to brace yourself for some growing pains during the upcoming year. And many of us, and myself included, have said, hey, not too worried about that because, we went from having a defense that was rated, what was it like? In the close to 100 to if we could even have a Jim Knowles defense that was in the 40s or low 50s, that could have potentially switched us from an 8-4 team to a 10-2 team, maybe 9-3, right? That could have made all the difference in the world. So a lot of us, and myself included, were basically screaming from the rooftops, you have a new coach in Happy Valley. James Franklin's gone, right? Go out, go get as many of those Penn State players as humanly possible and bring them down here to Knoxville. And finally, as of Saturday, that dam started to budge a little bit. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. So just sharing this really quickly, what we can see here is on Saturday, we had the number 3 total player in the portal commit to the University of Tennessee, and that being Chaz Coleman. Chaz Coleman, a freshman, a dynamic edge rusher that in his limited time playing this year was an immediate impact player and was incredibly coveted. You had us, you had Ohio State, you had LSU, South Carolina, even though, South Carolina, so who really cares about them, going hard and heavy after Chaz Coleman because they knew he would be an immediate impact player. And then throughout the course of the day, we received 3 more additional Penn State transfers. We had Xavier Gilliam, who, again, if I'm not mistaken, another defensive line player. We had Amari Campbell, who's a linebacker. So with Arian Carter leaving, right? It's going to be really, really great to have someone who's been in the Jim Knowles defense, who's going to be able and potentially slide in and compete for a starting role on that defense at linebacker. And then something that I absolutely love, DeJuan Lane here coming in as a safety, right? So again, now we've got Quay Moss, we've got DeJuan Lane, we've got these two players on the back end. One of those players already being in the defense of Jim Knowles during the last year. And why is that so important? Well, if we think about it logically, right, you've got almost half of the defensive players that could potentially be starting next year already being in the Jim Knowles' defense for a year. So what does that enable and empower Tennessee to do? It's going to allow us to shave down that learning curve that exists with the Jim Knowles defense, and our hope would be more effectively implement it and have those players be kind of advocates and peers that other members of the defense can approach and speak to and learn how to more quickly and efficiently implement that defense. So that could be a real big game changer for us. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, right, we have went and for the most part gotten quite a few of those defensive players from Penn State. We still have a ton of other visits ongoing, but we'll get into that tomorrow. But again, the fact we were able to nab these 4 Penn State players, and especially Chaz Coleman, who so many people wanted, someone who's young, someone who's going to make an immediate impact and improve our defensive line and get pressure on that quarterback of the opposing team, that's going to be an absolute game changer. So super excited about that. In closing here, I did want to go over really quickly because I noticed something else. Since the influx of those 4 players, if we go and look at the total team rankings, right, the transfer portal team rankings, we can see we're not exactly up here in the top 10. We have to scroll just a little bit. We're sitting currently at 16th. So we've had 10 players transfer in and 21 players transfer out. But something On3 does that's really, really interesting, right, is they give like an aggregate average. Think of it almost like the NCAA game, right? You've got your overall average. On average, the quality of a player transferring out was a 71. Transferring in is a 78.8. Right, so we've got a significant upside on the return compared to those leaving. And something that's a little bit more interesting is if we take a look here, if we remember 78.8, that puts us literally in the top 16, 17 teams here, second to Ole Miss in quality of transfers in. So again, what does that mean? It means we're getting those largely key pieces on defense that are familiar with Jim Knowles' defense. In addition to that, the quality of them is far better than the quality of those individuals who had transferred out. Couple that again with players who have had exposure to this defense and Jim Knowles' scheme, that could be a real game changer. There's a lot of questions right now. What's going to happen at quarterback? I'll make a video tomorrow when we hear what the Joey Aguilar decision is. By all indications, it looks as though he's likely not to be granted that extra year of eligibility, but we'll go into that. But if you put that aside, right, and you think back to this last season and you think about if we just had a competent defense, the quality of player, someone as effective as Jim Knowles on the defensive side of the ball, teaching those guys, getting them up to speed, quality DBs, quality safeties, our season's completely different, right? Now, hot take season will be after college football playoff is over, right? And we have 7 months of sadness as we build up to the season, but I do not think it's a stretch of the imagination to say with the moves we're making in the transfer portal right now, with the quality of player and with the experience they have, I think Tennessee is going to be in good shape for the next few years, especially this upcoming season. But let me know what you think. I'd love to hear that. And with that, again, we'll go ahead and end this recording. And yeah, we'll be back at it again tomorrow with another recap of where we're at in that Joey Aguilar recruitment, or not recruitment, but potential eligibility. Thanks again for stopping in today. And remember, if you like this content, I can't ask enough. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Any and all support's greatly appreciated. And as always, go Vols!